Hey everybody! I was literally here just like talking away with my husband. I was like, oh my gosh, it's 12:30. You ever looked out and you're like, oh, I thought I still had 5 more minutes. Nope, I do not have 5 more minutes. It is 12:30. Oh, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here joining me today. Okay, so this is video number 4 of 5 for our Fast and Festive lives. And I know a lot of you are like, the holiday season is just kicking up fast this year. Like December's flying by. And so I know there's going to be loads of A-stars on here watching the replay. So I just want to let you know that if you're not able to join live, it's no big deal. I want you to still ask your questions. I still want you to jump into like the comments, send us messages, show us your projects, even if you can't be here in the moment with me right now. Okay? So we are going to be making personalized notebooks or personalized journal covers today, okay? So this is another super fast, beginner-friendly gift that you can create for, well, any time of the year, but it's great for Christmas time too, when you need to whip something up that's personalized and handmade and you don't have a lot of time. So we're gonna be making this today. This is just one example. I have a file for you guys for all of our A-stars in that Fast and Festive collection. My dog's about to go nuts. There is the garbage people are coming by. So now it's time for her to defend the house, defend the home territory. So this is just one phrase example. You can type your own out, obviously. And I also went in and added, like this was just an inspirational thing I had last night. And I was like, I'm going to add this on. So I also went in and added like this little floral pattern that I just sample cut it to make sure everything was good. So this is something else you can add to the front. If you don't want to do like a phrase, you could put like some pretty florals on it. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about supplies first. Then we'll do our design space setup, and then we'll do our project. Okay. All right. So you're going to need to have obviously a notebook or a journal or something like that. This one I got at the Dollar Tree, $1.50. It doesn't have to be expensive. I got this one at Target. They were running some sales on them. Walmart's great too. If you want to go fancy, you can, go to like Barnes and Nobles or find some things off of Amazon. You can get like packs off Amazon. The only thing I would caution is to be careful of what kind of like textures there are on it. So this one you can see it has kind of like this little texture design right here, but it's not like really disrupting the surface very much. And I was going to put the design up top, so it wasn't really covering all of this. So that wasn't a big deal. But like this one here, which you guys are probably not going to be able to see on camera, but this one has a little bit more like pattern in it here, and it's pretty flat, so it probably would work just fine. But if you are like have something that's a little bit more textured, more movement to the cover, just think about that, because adding vinyl, you kind of want that smooth surface as much as possible, And I have put it on like faux leather, just like simple notebooks like this. So I've done a variety, but I like to go with the inexpensive stuff. You're going to need to have some sort of vinyl. So I am, in case you haven't noticed the theme, loving this metallic textured permanent vinyl by Cricut. But if you want to go with like a matte metallic or a shiny metallic or even a holographic or just something really fun. Maybe you're making it for a kid, and so you want it to be a little more playful, and a little less serious looking, a little less, what's the word? Demure? Is that like the trending word right now?
That's the word of the year.
That's the word of the year. Okay. Every time I hear the word demure, I think of like Demi Moore or something. I don't know why. Like her name and that word sound like that could be like a brand or something. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm remembering a campaign or something. You're going to need transfer tape for permanent vinyl. Of course, you're going to need to have a weeding tool and then something like a Cricut scraper tool to be able to burnish the design onto the front of the notebook or the journal. Pair of scissors is good to have on hand. Your cutting machine, of course. Joy models, Explore, Maker, all welcomed, all good. Cutting mat, I'm going to be using standard grit green mat. And you may want to have a measuring tape on hand to measure the surface so you know how to scale in design space to make sure you're getting everything proportional. Okay, so those are our supplies. If you guys have any questions as I'm going, let me know. Let me know even if you're watching the replay. I'm checking back to answer questions for that. So let's dive into design space, and I'll just show you how I would scale this. Okay, and some other setup tips real quick, and then we'll get it cut out. Okay, so let me share my screen with you guys. Entire screen. Okay, so here is some of the designs that we have for our A-stars. You could do like a floral cover, which is what I just added last night to the vault. If you have not downloaded this yet, just go to the member site, log into your account, and go over to collections. And then this one here for custom journals, you'll find those files available in there, okay, to download. So over here in Design Space, we're going to bring the file in. Liberty says hi. Did you guys hear that? So I'm going to click on the upload button once I'm in the Design Space canvas area, and we're going to upload our image. So I'm just going to click upload here, and I am going to drag and drop these over. So I'll drag this one over first. Okay, get a preview, hit continue at the bottom, upload, and then we'll drop it in here, okay? And then you could do the same thing with the other one, which is just the floral elements. And you could totally move these elements around. So if you just wanted to use part of them, if you needed to sort of readjust like the width or the height by scaling or duplicating and adding or taking away to make it fit your particular notebook, then that's an option for you as well. So there's obviously a lot going on my screen here. The one I did over here, I took this piece, which I have 2 copies of. So let me get that off. And I'll get this off too. I took this piece and I actually took one of these phrases because when I measured my notebook, it was like there was a gap at the bottom of the notebook and I didn't want to like stretch the floral. So I just added the phrase to the bottom. So I'll show you kind of how I did that here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup. And let's say we're taking this one here, right? Maybe I bring this down and I come to any one of these corners. You can click, hold, and drag to scale, larger or smaller. And then maybe I want to fill this space in here. We can right click to ungroup the floral elements. And let's see, what did I do over here? I think I grabbed this guy. I'll right click to duplicate it and move it down. And then you can scale it smaller. You can come to the outside corner and it'll turn to a rotation handle. So you can rotate it. You want it to kind of like go a different direction like that. And it can kind of fill that space out. Of course, I would do all of this under the condition that you have measured your particular notebook first, because maybe you don't need this, or maybe you need to actually subtract something before you put like the words in. There's lots of different ways that's going to work depending on the size of your notebook. But this is just one way that I kind of did that to add that sort of finishing touch right there, okay? And then of course, if you wanted to type out your own phrase, you could absolutely do that. I'm not gonna show that again here because in the last 2 videos that we did for the Fast and Festive 5, I went over pretty thoroughly how to type text, how to add text and that kind of stuff. So if you wanna go watch our other videos from this series, you'll be able to see just the basics of how that's done if you need help learning the basics of adding text to your canvas and Design Space and that kind of stuff. But that's how I would prep a file, is just think about like what I want to choose and then the scaling, of course. So I would start by measuring my notebook at this point. So grabbing your measuring tape, and so this is the one I'm going to put the pretty like floral pattern on. So you want to just measure, and you want to have like some grace on each side. So you don't necessarily want it edge to edge. So this notebook is just under 6 inches wide and just a tad under 8 inches high. So I would think about that when I'm scaling. You can see here with this original one over here, I made it a little over 5 inches and a little less than 8 so that it should still have a little buffer kind of around the edges, okay? And you can click and drag over any of these and just come to the corner to scale, or type in exact dimensions right at the top up here, which can be helpful too if you're trying to be super precise for any reason. And do the same thing with these. Think about your scale. If you're just adding like one of those on the cover just for fun, just think about your scale and get that prepped. Okay, so I'm going to do the action is key to success because it's like a super motivating quote. I'll cut that one out, and I've already got this one cut out for fun. So I'm just going to group this, and see, I'll use this group tool over here. I'm going to hide it in the layers panel using the eyeball tool. And what is this scale? This is 5:3. Let's see, I think that's probably too big. Yep, it's a little too big. So I'm going to scale this down just a bit. 4. 3. I'm going to do a little bit smaller. Make sure you save your project too if you don't want to ever do the prep again, or at least have some of the prep done. It might change according to the size of your notebook. So I'm going to just update my save here. Okay. And then I am going to click on the make button. Is there any questions I need to get to so far? Okay. So I'm going to click make, and I'm going to be cutting this on a mat because I'm using the permanent premium textured vinyl, and I'll click confirm. Okay, so what happened here is it separated everything out, and this happens when you have a lot of pieces within a group that comes in a file. And so unless we use what's called the attach tool, it's not going to actually hold the placement and make it look like it looked on the canvas. So if this happens to you at any time that you're working in Design Space, just come over here and click and drag over everything you want to stay together. So I have these 3 pieces selected, and use that attach tool at the bottom of the layers panel to hold the placement, hold the objects relative to each other. And then of course you could update your save if you want at that point again. And I'm going to go back to the next screen now, and you'll see that change reflected. So now it looks exactly like it did when it was on the canvas. So I'm going to click continue at the bottom, and we'll connect to my machine. So I'm using the Maker 3. I'm connecting via Bluetooth. You can connect with your USB cable if you would like. And we're going to set this aside. Okay, so as far as your material setting goes, I'm going to be using the premium vinyl textured metallic. I have it under my bookmarks here, but you could click browse on materials and then type in whatever you're using. So if you're just using like a plain permanent, you probably would just type in like permanent and do like a premium vinyl permanent glossy or something like that. And you would find the most relative item to your material. But for me, this is the one I'm using. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and load our mat. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Back over here. Okay. So I've got my mat here. Let me bring you guys down, and I'll just load this up. Actually, I could use my scraps. I'll be a good crafter and use my scraps. All right. So coming down here, I have my brayer tool, which just helps press the material to the mat. So I'm going to lay this. Oops, I didn't line that up very well. I'm going to line this up at the top. Okay. And I'm going to just press that on, get the bubbles out. All good to go. This is like seriously my most favorite vinyl. I just love the textured metallic. It's so pretty, and it goes with so many things. It goes with like so many things. You know, I'm thinking. I might put it on this one. This one's got a little spot on it. I'm thinking I might put it on this. So I'm thinking this color may not be that. Maybe a different color would be better. They have like a bright gold. They have like a bright gold, and they have like a dark brown, and they have a black too, which I have over there. Hey babe, can you open that side of the dream box? I didn't come prepared with my black. I wasn't thinking about color. And in one of those more top drawers, like the blue one, the green one of those, you should see the premium. Yep, he's got it. Cool. Thank you. I'm going to go with black because I'm going to put this color on this one, and I want to put black on this one. So there's contrast. I wasn't thinking about that when I was finalizing those.
You were finalizing those?
When I was vinylizing those. Did we just make the world's worst pun?
We did.
I was vinylizing. I was final. That's cute. Okay, we're going to have to make a meme out of that. All right. This one is pretty long. All right. So I could trim it down, or I could just place it on. But yeah, I'm glad I thought about that before I did that. It's like, that would not look, it would blend right in. I mean, I guess you could do that if you wanted it to kind of be like a monotone result. That'd be cool. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and load this into my machine. Under the guide, double arrow flashing button. And we're going to let that get cut out. It's going to align the mat for us. Just letting that extra vinyl hang off the end there. It's going to align the mat for us. And then we'll press that go or play or Cricut C icon. There we go. Okay. It's going to cut that out. I already have this one that I cut in advance. I still need to weed out the letters real quick. So I'm going to do that while that's cutting. You guys see what I'm doing. I'm just going to weed out this. Be careful that you're not going too small on stuff. Be careful that you're not picking out, journals and notebooks that are like mini size. Like this is your average size for sure. But if you were to get ones that are like, they make them in all sizes, just be mindful of that. Because it's going to make it more difficult for scaling and then weeding and cutting your vinyl. There we go. Okay. It's all stuck to me. It's stuck to me. Okay. So while that's finishing cutting, I'm going to apply this one to this book. This one I got on sale at Michael's craft store. It was like the artisan, or it's like a bullet journal. So it's really fun. They did like a big sale on it. So I'm going to add this one on. I've never tested this one before. So you get the real in the moment result. Each one has a bit of a different texture to it. So I need to get my transfer tape here. And there's supplies and resources linked below this video for y'all. Get that off there and cut a piece down. There we go. Okay, I certainly don't need all that length, so I'll probably trim it down. Stick it to the side of my desk there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and place this down right on top. There we go. And I'll get my Cricut scraper tool and I'm going to burnish all the way over the entire design. And then flip over and do the same thing here. And you can see that if you were to like batch cut these out, like do a first round, test everything. But if you were to batch cut these out, you could absolutely like get through a bunch of these really fast. If you stick with like the Dollar Tree, like $1.50 ones, man, you could get gifts for like everybody in your office or stocking stuffers for everybody in your family for like, I don't know, $20 maybe. All right, so now that I've burnished front and back, I'm going to peel the liner away from the transfer tape and just watch that it's going well. If it's sticking, you see how that's sticking there to the liner. You're going to crease and press with your thumb, okay? And then you're going to roll it away. And see there, it's sticking also. It happens with this little trick of like taking your time to roll it back. Press with your thumb where it's not releasing. Okay. Almost there. Uh-oh, it got stuck in the back. Try not to touch your vinyl when you're doing this. I know it's hard when there's patterns, but the oils on your hands can disrupt like the stickiness of it. Yeah. Yay, we did it. Okay, so that has been transferred to our transfer tape. Now I'm going to be placing it on here. And as far as like the surface of this goes, I mean, just make sure it's like dust free, that if there's any stickers on it, you've removed that. Depending on the surface, if it's like a plastic surface or a hard surface, you could probably just wipe it down with a little like a damp cloth just to like get, any of the extra stuff off. This is kind of like a, I don't know what they would call this. It's not leather. I would say maybe like a faux leather or something like that. So I probably wouldn't wipe anything down there. I probably wouldn't apply any alcohol cleaning to it because I don't know how that's going to react. So just make sure it's free from obvious debris. Okay. And then I'm going to just kind of line this up and place it here. And I would love to say there's like a super amazing trick for this, but really it's just that you got that alignment or that measurements correct. And you can see this is a pretty free looking design here. It's not like it has to be perfectly aligned to one side or the other. It has some negative space to it, which makes it feel really like easy to just put on, even if you don't get it 100% perfect. And I'm going to take my Cricut scraper tool now, and I'm going to do an initial burnish like this. Okay. And then I'll probably go in with my fingers and just do a little pressing. Welcome, PME. It's okay. I run late all the time. If you would have been here when we started, Tammy, I was panicking because I was like, oh my gosh, I was talking with my husband. I'm like, it's 12:30, and we're just like waiting for it to count down to 12:30, and somehow it became 12:30 very fast. And I was like, we have to go live. So I was in the middle of telling him a story, and the story did not get an ending. So we'll have to do that later. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're joining us live here. If you're watching the replay, make sure you're leaving your questions and comments for me below. I'm taking my finger after doing this, and just because there's a lot of detail, I'm kind of just pressing extra well to where that Cricut scraper can do some of this, but I feel like your fingers really work well. Use a tennis ball also if you're like, it's hard on your hands to press. That's okay. Use something like a tennis ball to roll, and just, all you have to do is apply the pressure. You don't have to like push with your fingers. On the finger, I do my fingers, but I'm sure as I get older, I'll be like, that's not fun anymore. I'm going to get the tennis ball trick. Okay, so that looks pretty good initially there. And I'm going to start to peel this up now, okay? So far, sticking really well. That's catching a little bit right there. You can kind of see where it's catching. So same thing when we were removing this from the liner. If you pressed with like your fingernail or the tool and then pull back. Another thing when you're removing transfer tape like this, it's natural to pull up. You want to actually pull straight back because that allows the pieces that you're leaving behind to stay flat rather than to be lifted, if that makes sense. So that really helps. So see here, this is catching too. So I'm just going to press and roll. And then it's releasing as I do that. This literally was impromptu last night. I was like, I want to do a design that isn't just a little quote on the front or phrase. I want it to have some floral element to it, something a little more fancy. And I just whipped this up last night. And I threw it back up for all our A-stars to grab as an extra piece. There we go. Oh, okay, so that was catching. That's why we go slow. Yay, there we go. That was fun. That wasn't too bad. I was a little nervous because I've never done this particular one before. So let's take a look at that. How pretty. And you could put the person's name here. Like if you wanted to type that out in Design Space, again, go look at my other videos from the other Fast and Festive 5. We went over typing out typing and text work in Design Space a couple different times, but put the person's name here, which would be really fun to personalize that. But I think this turned out pretty cool. What do you think, babe? I haven't showed him this yet. I was like, I just woke up today and decided I was going to do this. It's like when the creative bug just bites you and you're like, let's try something.
It's like something you buy on a shelf.
Yeah. See, isn't that what every crafter wants to hear? My husband says, it looks like something you would buy off of a shelf. All right. You got husband points. So I'm going to unload this other one back here. I'm going to bring it over here so you guys can see. And I'll just apply to the other notebook so we can kind of see it compare and contrast. I'm going to remove that mat carefully. Okay. I'm going to trim this down. This is also the premium texture and metallic in black. They make like a bright gold, like a copper, which is this one, a sort of like brown coffee color, and then a black. Actually, this is really curling. It's curling. I'm going to put it back on the mat while I weed it. Okay, so we have a question. I have a journal that I need to cover the top first. What would you recommend? So when you say cover the top, what do you mean by that exactly? So like you need to actually cover it with something before you apply a design? Is it like plastic? Is it fabric? Is it like, give me a little more details on that so I can answer more accurately for you. It's a great question. I'm just curious to make sure I understand what you're saying there while I read this. Okay. Nice and slow, looking good. Let me get that out there. Okay. Super motivating phrase for the new year, right? Action is the key to success. It really is. I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, there's that phrase that knowledge is power, and knowledge is not power if you do not have execution. So I always like to add a little caveat to that statement. Okay, so the journal has a picture I do not want, and it's shiny paper. So it sounds like you're trying to remove something and replace it with something else. So, I mean, if you're needing to put like a new cover on, I don't know if it's like maybe spiral. Is it like maybe spiral like this where you're wanting to remove it? If that's the case, then you would need to get something like that can allow you to like reconnect a new cover basically. And I do not have experience in that per se, but if you're wanting to just use the actual cover itself and then just like put something over it to cover the picture, you could do like some sort of printable vinyl if you wanted to print something new and measure carefully to, you know, get a shape out in Design Space, insert the picture into the shape, and then print it out and like stick the vinyl over it to cover the existing picture. That could be an option for you. So definitely think of like printing something out to cover. You could, if you wanted to be adventurous, I have not tried this, but if you wanted to cover it with like the actual vinyl itself, like let's say you grabbed this vinyl and you wanted to cut a piece to cover this and then put another layer on top, you could totally try that. The thing you're just going to want to be super careful of is just your measurements. Just be very careful of your measurements so that you're getting that as accurate as possible. Or you could also place, I'm totally going off tangent for a moment, but you could also place this like down on a mat. Let's say you're covering with vinyl and then place it down and trace and use like an X-Acto knife to get it super precise. So hopefully that sparks some ideas for you there on that. If you are still shopping for your notebooks, I would recommend trying to find something that's kind of already blank just for like the ease. But obviously, if you have something that you're trying to repurpose or use, then yes, you could play around with printable vinyl or just the vinyl itself and cover it. Okay, cool. Let me grab, look, I have this little piece. Is that going to work? No, it's not. But this one might. Yeah, that one will work. By the way, if you ever have scraps of transfer tape nearby and you're like, that doesn't fully cover the design, maybe two pieces together would, you can totally layer two pieces together of transfer tape. It doesn't have to be like all one seamless piece. Even though I could totally cover this, I'm going to do this just for example's sake. So you can be like, that's a practical little tip. So let's say I needed two to cover the design like that. You can totally do that. And then that way you're maximizing your transfer tape scraps. Smaller pieces. And it works just fine. Okay, burnishing the front and then the back. That's there. It's being extra sticky today. There. Okay. So tomorrow we're making those photo pillowcases. Super excited about that. And I'll show you guys how to get the photos into the square shape. It's super easy. And you don't even have to use the pattern feature in Design Space, which I have a love-hate relationship with. Like, it's a cool feature, but it never seems to like adjust the way that I want it to. So I found a way around that. All right, so I'm going to remove this liner, lifting from the back here, and slow, like before. Okay. And we'll place on this one. There's a little more parallel down. There we go. So I'm just gonna hover here. You could put it dead center. You can put it up top. I feel like it looks good, kind of like offset a bit at the top there, not dead center, but that's totally your preference. I'm just hovering until I feel like I've got a good center placement looking at the edges. And then I'll give it a press. You can clearly see there's those 2 separate pieces of transfer tape there, but it's working just fine, which really helps with maximizing the scraps in all the ways we can. Saves us money on our materials and a little time and effort. Okay, so now I'm going to peel back carefully here. You can see that's lifting a bit. So there are certain surfaces that the vinyl may not stick as well to. So there is some experimentation there. I'd say the harder the surface, like the less cushion, the less supple it feels, for lack of a better expression, the more the vinyl is going to easily stick. This one has a bit of cushion to it. It has definitely some softness to it. So I can tell that it'll stick, but I'm going to have to like go slow with removing this transfer tape. It's sticking. It's just yeah, so like right there, I'm going to press with my thumb or my finger. Press there again with that, and then it releases. We're pulling that transfer tape straight back towards us, not up, because up would make it lift. There we go. Yay. This will be yours, honey. No, I don't mean it because it's a phrase. I mean, like, it looks like you. Like, it's a good, like this is great for, like, if you have, you know, a guy, nephew or something like that. Maybe someone who's, like, not a girl, because this is very feminine, right? So this is very a feminine approach. Or maybe they like flowers, but, like, this would be great for, like, you know, a husband or a brother-in-law or whatever. So there's how that turned out. Here's how this one turned out. Let's bring you guys back up here. Okay, so I've got 3 now. We've got this one. That's my favorite for obvious reasons. We've got this pretty one as well. And then we've got this one. And you can type out your own phrases too. So are you guys going to make these for anyone for Christmas? Tell me who you're going to make them for. Are you going to make these designs for maybe resell for a shop? Do I have any makers on here? I know I have some makers on here who are going to make these to sell, right? I think this one would do particularly well. I kind of want to come up with some more floral designs for something like this. It's super pretty. My husband agrees. He's nodding his head. I know. So elegant, right? I love it. I love it, Tammy. Yeah. Like, again, I just literally woke up and I'm like, I'm going to add something different. Like, when I was designing these simple ones, they're super cute, right? But I'm like, they're very basic, and basic and simple is nice, but we need something that's a little more elegant and flourishy and fun. So we added this. Super fun. Excuse me, I am losing my voice. We are doing 6 lives in 5 days, and I've never done that much before, so my voice is getting very angry at me. Okay, so do we have any questions? Shannon says, I'm going to do it for my daughter's boyfriend. Thanks for the idea. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so make sure you share your process with us, your pictures, post them in our community. Okay, post them in our community. Send us messages if you are not on Facebook. If you have questions, let me know. We are going to be back tomorrow for our final festive our 5th one of our final festive. That's a tongue twister. We're going to be making pillows tomorrow, okay? And I'm going to show you guys how you can get the frame and all of that. We'll be using printable iron-on for it, as well as everyday iron-on. The details for all that are in that Fast and Festive 5 collection in the craft vault, so make sure you go and grab them. And tomorrow it'll be 12:30 again, and since it is a Saturday, my daughter will be home, and so she'll get to craft with me. So you'll get to hang out with me and Ellen tomorrow, which will be lots of fun. I had to do all these other ones solo because, of course, she's at school, and I'm like, I miss my crafting buddy. Okay, you guys. All right, you've been awesome today. Thank you so much. Again, if you're catching the replay, please comment, leave your questions. We're here to help. And have a very Merry Christmas and great rest of your day. And I will see you all tomorrow for the photo pillowcases. All right, bye, guys.